Over the last 100 years, the British Empire has gradually got smaller as more countries have begun to rule themselves. However, several small colonies dotted around the world did not leave and remain a part of the British Empire. One of these colonies is a group of islands in the southern Atlantic Ocean off of the coast of Argentina called the Falklands Islands. In 1982, Britain fought a war to defend these islands when Argentina invaded. But why did the war happen? What were the key events? And what impact did the war have on Britain and its position on the world stage? The Falklands are located about 300 miles off the coast of Argentina. They are a collection of over 700 islands, but most people live on the main two islands, East and West Falkland. Britain first claimed these islands in 1765, but the Spanish later took them over and renamed them the Islas Malvinas. When Spanish rule ended in 1806, the islands were claimed by Argentina. Up to this point, the islands were uninhabited. Britain seized the islands from Argentina in 1833, and British settlers began to live there. As a result, the majority of the population of around 2,000 are of British descent. From the time that Britain took control of the islands, there has been a long, heated argument between Argentina and Britain over who should control them. But what caused the war of 1982? In the early 1980s, Argentina was controlled by the army and its leader, General Galtieri. Argentina's economy was having severe problems at this time. Unemployment was high, banks were falling, and prices were rising quickly. Galtieri hoped that a quick, successful war that ended with the return of the Falklands to Argentina would take people's minds off their problems and restore their belief in him. On the 2nd of April 1982, Argentine troops invaded the islands. Around 12,000 soldiers arrived and they quickly took control. Most South American countries, except Colombia and Chile, supported Argentina's invasion and its claim to the island. However, most of Argentina's troops were new recruits who were poorly trained. Britain's Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher responded quickly and defiantly to the invasion. She said, "We have to recover those islands. We have to recover them, for the people on them are British and British stock, and they still owe allegiance to the Crown and want to be British." She received near universal support from politicians and the British public, and plans to retake the Falklands were up and running very soon. She sent a task force of around 100 ships and around 28,000 troops to the island, and declared a 320-kilometre exclusion zone around them. This meant that the British would, without any warning, open fire on any ship or aircraft from any country entering the zone. Britain and Argentina were now at war, which ended on the 14th of June when the Argentines surrendered. In total, around 750 Argentines and 255 British troops were killed during the war. The war cost Britain the lives of 255 men. 6 ships, 10 others were damaged, 34 aircraft, and over £2.5 billion. Politically, the war was a huge boost to the popularity of British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, and she was re-elected in 1983. The relationship between Britain and the USA became stronger during the conflict too, with US President Ronald Reagan even offering to loan Britain a US warship if a British aircraft carrier was sunk. This special relationship between Britain and the USA has remained in place ever since. There was also a boost in patriotic feeling among Britain's citizens. They were proud of their country's defences of one of its last colonies. Foreign politicians reported that there was an increase in international respect for Britain, a country that was regarded as a fading power after the failure of the 1956 Suez Campaign and the loss of its colonies. Still today, the victory is looked upon by pride by many who remember the war or even those who fought in it. In 2012, a commemorative service was held to mark the 30th anniversary of the start of the war. The British Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, said, "We are rightly proud of the role Britain played in fighting a profound wrong, and the people of the Falkland Islands can be justly proud of the prosperous and secure future they have built for their islands since 1982. The war even had a positive effect in Argentina. After the country's humiliating loss, President Galtieri was forced to resign, paving the way for a new democratic government, whereas he had been a dictator. However, the war did not end the dispute between the two countries. Argentina continues to claim the islands, but Britain maintains that this is not open to negotiation. To this day, the Argentines always refer to the islands as Islas Malvanas. I'm so sorry, that's an awful pronunciation. I don't speak Spanish. Around 1,000 British troops are posted there and are involved in patrolling the island, as well as road building and monitoring the huge quantity of explosive mines that were planted there by Argentine forces during the conflict. Now is going back maybe and listen to what I've just said. I want you to answer those 6 questions for me. You've then got an 8-mark question at the bottom. So it says, compare the Suez Crisis of 1956 with the Falklands War of 1982. How are they different? Now this is a type of question that you will get in your exam. Not to put any pressure on you. Now this one says, how are they different? The way my mind works, I write a list of everything I know about the Suez Crisis, everything I know about Falklands, and then I'll pick out how do they differ. So for example, this question says just compare them in general. So you could think about comparing their causes, comparing the consequence. So for example, thinking about one consequence, Britain looks really, really weak after the Suez Crisis. Whereas after the Falklands War of 1982, Britain emerges really strong. What actually happens is, it's the end of something called Suez syndrome. Suez syndrome is this feeling that people in Britain got that their empire and that Britain was a weak, rubbish country and there was no point in helping it anymore. 1982, people are really grateful for that, and it's the end to Suez syndrome. Also, if you think about what happens with the Falklands and the Suez Crisis, after the Suez Crisis, the Prime Minister Anthony Eden is forced to resign because it is a failure. Whereas after the Falklands War of 1982, Margaret Thatcher is re-elected in 1983 because people feel proud and are happy with what she has done.